Howler's Pharmacy is here to help. They have been in our community for decades. So whether it's a seasonal issue or whether it's something that you have to take care of regularly, Howler's Pharmacy is here to help you find exactly what you need. Check them out on the corner of Fremont and Peralta in downtown Centerville. Are you tired of pushy real estate agents who don't have your best interest at heart? Give Jennifer Petroselli a call. Jennifer helps her clients make smart real estate decisions that benefit them in the long run. Contact Petroselli Homes on Niles Boulevard.
Every day is a new day here in Fremont. All the things you need are here today. And you meet some new people. Might as well and wave and say hey.
Hello, Fremont. Ricky B. here with the Fremont Podcast. I'm really excited to be able to bring to you new episodes of the Fremont Podcast. Up until this point, all of our episodes have been on audio. You can find them on almost every audio podcast platform there is. But now we are hoping to be able to bring you the new episodes on both video and audio. So you'll be able to still listen to them wherever it is that you find your podcasts, and you'll be able to watch them on YouTube. With that in mind, I want to just share with you how I envision the podcast to look moving forward. We took a break for a little bit. For almost 2.5 years, we brought you podcast episodes every week. And we were thrilled to be able to share with you the conversations that we were privileged to have here in our community. But it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of effort. And so we needed to take a break for a little bit. From here on out, I am looking forward to being able to continue to bring you episodes, conversations of people here in the Fremont community. But we're going to try to space it out so that it's sustainable. We had been bringing you episodes every Friday, and now our goal is to at least bring you 2 good quality episodes a month. And if I get the opportunity to bring more, then that's bonus for you. But our goal is to help make this something that's a staple in our community long term. And I think slowing down our rhythm, being able to offer you fewer episodes, but better quality episodes will be the hope and the goal that we will have moving forward. With that in mind, I do want to tell you, With that in mind, I do want to take a moment just to thank a few people for making this podcast a reality. First of all, I want to thank my team. For years, I have been able to work with a phenomenal team who have helped to bring these episodes and these conversations to you. There is no way that I would be able to do what we have done here on the Fremont Podcast without them. Andrew and Sarah served as my editor, served as my assistant scheduler, and they did research on everybody that we had conversations with. And there is no way that this podcast would have been a reality without them. They served you as a community well. They gave above and beyond what was asked of them, and they made this a reality. And even when I was not able to continue on, Andrew was able to bring you episodes on his own that were just phenomenal. So I would be remiss if I did not thank them for their effort, their time, and all of their investment into this podcast. This podcast would truly not be here if it were not for them. I also want to thank our sponsors. For years, we've had people invest and share as sponsors on the podcast. And particularly now, I want to tell you about Petroselli Homes. Petroselli Homes was our very first sponsor, and they continue to be our sponsor until this day. Jennifer Petroselli has served this podcast to help make it a possibility and a reality for years. And matter of fact, I'm sitting in their office space right now recording this video for you. But I want to tell you that Jennifer Petroselli is not just a sponsor. She actually helped serve as a realtor that I was able to work with. In 2023, an organization that I work with was selling a home here in Fremont. And I recommended that we use Jennifer Petroselli to be our realtor. And she was phenomenal. I had known of her as a partner of the podcast, but I had not been able to actually work with her. But when we went through the process of selling this home, she was always a step ahead. She was always aware of what our needs were. She had contractors to help serve us when we needed it. She had everybody where they needed to be when we needed to do it. She was always making sure that everything was getting done so that we could get the house on the market and get it sold as quickly as possible. The experience that I had with Jennifer as we sold this home was phenomenal. And I cannot recommend to you enough Jennifer Petroselli of Petroselli Homes. She has been a phenomenal partner with our podcast, but she is a phenomenal realtor, and I wholeheartedly recommend her to you. If you are looking to buy or sell your home, I want to recommend to you Jennifer Petroselli of Petroselli Homes. I also need to thank all those who have been sponsors of the podcast as well. If I tried to start listing them off right now, I'm sure that I would miss some, but anyone who has been a sponsor of the podcast, any local business or individual who's been a sponsor of the podcast, I want to thank you so much for helping make this podcast a reality. I also want to thank you. Thank you for listening. If you weren't listening, there would be no reason to have this podcast. Without you, there is no purpose, and there is no motivation to be able to bring you these episodes. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And if you know of people who have yet to hear of the podcast, I invite you to share these episodes with them so that they could be a part of our podcast community. Well, I'm looking forward to bringing you more episodes. I'm excited about the episodes that we've already recorded, the conversations that we've already had. And I hope that these are conversations that will encourage you to be a better resident in our community, to be a better citizen, and to get involved with the things that are going on in our community. This place, Fremont, would not be what it is without you. And we can always make it better by listening, by sharing, and by investing our time and effort to make it what it is. So with that said, I want to invite you to listen to our new episodes, beginning with this episode 133 with Cathryn Price. You ready?
Yeah. Well, because that's one thing. It's like, I feel like, that's always been a separate thing for you, like real estate and then this. And I saw that, and I always asked myself the question of, like, how can I just be and also work? Like, how can I just live authentically? And that was music. It's always been that way. And when I discovered that, I was like, wow, I don't have to be anything else. Like, I'm clocked in, and I'm like just myself all the time, you know? There's certain levels of like that professionalism because you have different interactions with different people, and you got to know like tonation and like intonation and like how you're speaking to them and what you're wearing, even what kind of setting it's in. It's all like energy and feng shui and like how it works together. Yeah. So it's music. So yeah, that's awesome. Everything's music.
Yeah, I love that. So let's jump into this. So a couple things. If I'm fidgeting, adjusting, or whatever, don't mind me. Just let me do my thing.
Yeah.
And you just kind of enjoy doing your thing and focusing on what you're doing. And if anything, like if anybody, they close at 4. So if anybody comes down here and they disturb us or whatever, we'll just stop and we can edit and make changes or whatever
tea.
else.
I was kidding.
That's right. That's right. And I appreciate your manager sending me information. Sarah would my scheduler and assistant would do everything for me. She'd have like a whole page and a half of like research that she did on the person that I was interviewing.
Wow.
To kind of make sure that I had a lot of notes and stuff. So,
yeah.
And it was always amazing to have that to work with. But I am very much the vision of this podcast came from just randomly meeting people at coffee shops and in town, and just like hearing the candid story of their life, without it being, set up or prepared or whatever. And so I actually am a big fan of trying to have those conversations here, even though we've got like cameras and mics in our face. So
yeah, it's something to get used to,
right.
At first I was like really nervous, but I feel like the more that you do it, you realize like it's just, again, it's like it's an energy thing. But yeah, I mean, having that organic experience anywhere is how the magic happens and how ideas come to life. And that's my favorite part about the songwriting sessions too, is like usually the first half an hour to an hour, you're just kind of setting in, getting to know somebody. And sometimes like it's a songwriting session in a coffee shop too. And you're vibing with a person, but it's that organic experience. I love that. I'm all about it.
That's cool. So tell me what you're doing. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and start with where you are now. Like, what are you doing right now? And then I kind of want to retrack that back to how did you get here? So what are you in the middle of doing right now with your life?
Oh, man, that's a big question. Living.
There you go.
Succeeding.
Yeah.
Showing myself how resilient I am in the industry, especially as a woman. Going into major studios, being behind huge consoles, learning how to track drums with, Grammy Award-winning and nominated musicians and producers. I'm also helping out different artists through artist development. I'm also going to school. So I'm working full-time, going to school full-time, and also performing wherever I can. I have a few shows coming up.
Wow.
But yeah, helping build the brand right now. I have an amazing community that I'm a part of, in the Bay Area. That was hard for me to find at first. And I grew up here. So I left thinking like, there's nothing here,
Yeah.
I went to Nashville and everything, and then came back and realized like, my purpose is here. Like I am the community. I have to make it happen. Yeah. So just performing a lot, helping other artists, doing my own thing, recording, getting in, sync like libraries. I'd love to have a placement in a movie, do something with a music supervisor, and I'm talking to them and they're like, do you have any songs that match this kind of vibe? And I'm like, no, but I'll make one, So
well, that kind of goes to what we were just talking about earlier, is that the music that I was using when I originally started the podcast was just, let's say generic. I mean, I paid something to be able to get it licensed. But it was just, I didn't know who wrote it. It didn't have any particular meaning with Fremont or Niles or anything like that. But I just thought it would be really great to have somebody who's local, that writes music, and just use something or have something written that really just kind of matches the vibe of the podcast, to be able to kind of make it true, completely homegrown, not just pieced out from other places. So when we were just talking about the Cast of Niles podcast, and I did an interview with Michael McNevin, and he played a number of songs for me, and I snagged some audio from one of the songs that he played that he wrote about Niles, and that's the music that we use for the Cast of Niles podcast.
Yeah, see, authentic, organic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about with you. I was like, if you're writing music and you're performing, I saw something on your Instagram recently that how much you were just kind of like, you gave a shout out to Niles, your hometown.
Yes.
And I was just thinking it'd be great just to have someone like you who just really has a love for this community, to be able to give us something to be able to listen to on each episode of the podcast.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing up that Instagram post, or a social media post. It was really vulnerable for me too, to kind of like tell my truth.
Yeah.
And I think that you do touch a point. Like that's why I'm here, is to like have that authenticity, and I think that's what we're kind of shying away from with all this new tech and everything. We have AI, we have ways that you can make beats without musicians. You can do all of that, but we're missing the vital meat and potatoes of it, which is the energy, which is where you're from and what comes out of you naturally. What were you growing up listening to? That all comes out in the music.
Yeah. That's something. Yeah, I love that because I think that there's shortcuts available to almost anything you want. Like there's ways to get things to get like an end product, but I think that sometimes we shortchange so many of the elements that really make it like a symbiotic relationship with the world that we live in.
Yeah.
So in some sense, you can write a song that the lyrics don't have anything to do with where you live or who you grew up with or the friends that you have. But if you wrote that song and you've got a band that you've been working with and you've been just like tweaking that and just like bringing it into a really fine place, that the story is like woven into the fabric of that song that you're that you've written or performed.
Yes,
so I love that. I love that. The world needs more of that. They need more of you.
Aw, thank you. That's so sweet. I just try to be as authentic and as I can, and really include other people. I think that's the biggest thing is I want to help. I also want to do my thing by showing, that I can, which means you can too. My niece looks at me like, Auntie, you're actually really cool. You're playing on stage. You got a guitar. I'm like, finally, it's about time you knew. Yeah. But yeah, I just say, be as authentic as you can, and those experiences will happen, and the music will come. Yeah. And I question all the time because I'm very influenced by my environment. Okay. So when I was in Nashville, I was singing the songs and the country and getting a little twang going on and started saying y'all, and it was a lot of fun. And then I came back to the Bay and I was like, okay, cool. Like we've got a big movement of like rock here. We've got hip hop and rap going on. And I was involved in all of the scenes for the most part, a little bit of punk, but mostly like rock, country, pop, hip hop. A little bit of reggae too, because I'm from San Diego. So I love like ska and reggae. So yeah, I love all of music, but really what comes out of me is the Niles character. When I'm just my sixth string, it's like the true like folk, country, very influenced by Michael McNevin. That's I will say, because I grew up here and he had the Mud Puddle.
The Mud Puddle shop.
Yeah. And I'm sad that that's closing.
I know. I've been there the last 2 weekends for his what's he call it? Getting muddy.
Yeah.
His gigs and bringing people in from out of town and stuff. And I've captured a number of videos of him and others doing music there, but it is a sad thing. It's in some sense, as long as he's around and his influence is around, like that life, that spirit is going to live on. Yeah. But that's just a cool place. I mean, it's just a cool place to be able to go and experience.
All the chairs hanging on the walls and everything.
And like the Etch-a-Sketch drawings that he has are just phenomenal. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So I hope to bridge the gap because, Niles is really amazing community. Okay. And being from here, I already started a jam night on Valentine's Day.
That was awesome.
Which was amazing.
I missed it. No. I got the invite. I even RSVP'd and said I was coming. And something came up and I was not able to make it. So I apologize.
Oh my gosh. You missed a poppin' party. Yeah. I will tell you. It was amazing. And everybody that came was just, blown away. Like I am a very emotional person. I think that's why I'm a songwriter. But I literally was like looking at everybody and I had this moment of like, wow, like I did that, as I set it up. It came from a place of not wanting to be alone on Valentine's Day. And I was like, I don't have a Valentine. I was like, I'm done moping around. Like, I'm going to do something. So I set that event up and then the jam night went wild and everyone was like, I want to participate in that. So I realized that this community is craving, local music, nightlife. And Michael's doing a great job because he's got Frederico's and, but it takes a community. And he's told me, I'm passing the torch to you. That's awesome. So that's awesome. I definitely want to create the same kind of atmosphere. And I'm actually launching a project right now where I'm going to open up an independent studio where I have opportunities for people to take lessons for different instruments. Also retreats, like songwriting retreats. There'll also be a studio that eventually I'll allow other engineers to use. similar to, what's going on at Hyde and 25th, like as long as you are an established producer.
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready to create an iconic landmark in this place. And
wow.
Niles is old Hollywood,
That's
but
right.
let's make it
new,
new.
yeah. That's
and
cool.
new Niles.
That's
and
right.
that's carrying the spirit that has been for so many years. Like this town knows its history.
Right.
And I'm here
Yeah.
to make my mark.
Yeah.
So
I was just talking to actually it was the people across the street that they're redoing that whole space by the was it the Devil's Workshop, like right next to. I was just talking to them last weekend, and I was saying that it's interesting that
the angels are singing.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting how the is that coming from inside there? Or
I don't know, but
that's so funny. That's awesome. It's interesting how there's so many stories of so many people that live here, and they go back generations. I mean, you're having people that have, their great grandparents or great great grandparents moved here from the Azores, or they moved here from Italy, or they moved here from, wherever, and they've got these stories that have been around for a long time. And I just think that those stories, number one, I feel like that's what we really want to capture. But on the newer side of that, like the more contemporary moment that we're in, I feel like that is so weird.
Is it like their devout, maybe devout coffee is we're at this location today.
I don't know if it's someone is. Oh, you know what? I bet there's a phone in that office. I bet it's that
someone
phone.
Is ringing.
There you go. There you go.
Someone is calling. Do you need Ricky?
There you go. Awesome.
Because he's podcast balling.
I love it. That's awesome. There you go. That's our new bumper track. Yeah. If that goes one more time, I'm gonna have to go in there and.
Do you want to do it now?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. That was.
I feel like it could be a phone.
Yeah.
Cord, or like a landline.
Landline. They have a landline in there.
Landline.
Yeah.
It's a landline.
All right. So where were we?
You were talking about this Devil's Workshop.
Yeah, the Devil's Workshop. So I was just telling them that I feel like those stories are amazing. I think history is important because it's where we came from. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Niles is not gone away yet. Like and like there's still like the heart and the spirit and the character and everything that's
like
here.
It's slowly
it is.
Encroaching,
it's slowly,
that's why we have to branch
that's
out.
Right.
You know, that's the biggest thing.
And not reinvent it, but like create the new version of it, refresh it.
Revitalize. You know, I think that's the same thing. Like evolving.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's got to evolve,
yeah.
but we nurture the spirit, and it's alive and well here, and we need to bring more people who are willing to contribute to the arts and the excitement happening here. We don't need people who are going to come in and break into these local shops owned by small families, you know? So I think that's the biggest thing is like, again, bringing the community together and branching out and just remembering like we're evolving, you know? So like the Devil's Workshop is turning into the White Rabbit, you know? So, and things like that. And then the gallery downtown is turning into an amazing place. You can go talk to the owner and you could potentially, you know, have a jam night or, you know, he's offered space. Yes. Yeah. He's amazing.
It's great. Yeah,
and then Flying A with all the stuff. Like there's things going on that side of town.
Right.
What's happening on this side of town?
Yeah.
We got to give the firefighters some entertainment.
That's right.
But Fremont's a great place, but Niles
is amazing.
That's where I'm from.
That's great. So tell me your story. Like what? Like I'm hearing your dream. Like you are like announcing in essence this beginning of like the new era of Niles and what you're bringing to it. Where did this come from? Like what is your story? How did you get here?
The phone's gonna go off. I need some ringtones. Yeah. No, it's my story. How did I get here?
Yeah, like you grew up here, and like how did you get to playing music, and like what was the inspiration behind it? I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. How did I get to playing music? Well, I would say I've always been surrounded by music because my family's always made space for it. And I think that's the biggest thing because it became my friend. So at a young age, my family always had like a music room / living room where we had like our living room, and then we'd also have like a piano in there, and forever it's been like that. And I would just ding on that and everything. And then my dad, there's actually a video of me as a baby on my Instagram right now. He played guitar. So he would always play the 12-string guitar. And that really influenced me. And my mom and I, because our piano was like a Kawasaki, Yamaha, some sort of like electric piano. I don't know off the top of my head right now, but it had these floppy disks we would like put in.
I remember those. Yeah. We yes. The piano I had that was a Clavinova.
Yeah. So we'd pop the floppy disk in and like have like 5 songs we're singing, and of all those 5 songs was Caribbean Queen, that she turned into Caribbean King. So we'd be like, Caribbean King, now we're sharing the same dream. Like we would go off all night. And that slowly evolved to my sisters who were older than me becoming teenagers, developing their own like genre. And that just got passed down, like Sublime, 311, we got Green Day, we've got Tom Petty from my mom. We've got Coldplay from my dad. We've got like Imogen Heap and like all kinds of different things. And that was mostly like in San Diego. And then we moved up to the Bay. And then all of a sudden it started like E40. Then we got Mr. Fab. Right. Then we have like, then we go, ooh, I was like, grew up in the Bay. I was in the school. So that was like a whole thing because it was a culture shock, and I loved it. I was like, tell me when to go. Tell me when, I was a kid, right? So that's what I grew up with. And then my sister, she would play the guitar, right? Okay. So she had a 6-string. And like I said, music was kind of always around me. And I really wanted to, connect with her because she was a cool older sister. Yeah. And my oldest sister had already passed down her music knowledge. And now it was just me and my middle sister. So we had pretty big age gaps. Okay. So the oldest one was already out the house. So it was just me and my middle sister, Erin. And we were jamming and we made a song. We would like write songs, and we made songs about like crazy things. Amazingly funny, hilarious things, and we would be up in the middle of the night just making songs. Awesome. So that's really where my songwriting came from. And then when I turned like 13, this is like the defining moment. Like this is all building up. Okay. And then I watched Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. Yep. Changed everything for me because I was over here listening to like all this old classic rock and everything, and then I was like, what is this country like love story? Like what I was enthralled by it, That's
cool. Yeah.
And then from there I asked my dad and my parents to get me, actually I think I got in trouble, and they were like, here's your guitar. And I was like, if I get a guitar I want it to be all black because I want it to be like Johnny Cash. So I entered into that era of Johnny Cash lifestyle, and then I started songwriting like crazy. Like 13 years old I wrote my first real like verse chorus bridge chorus. I already knew like structure, because I think it was just because I grew up singing so many songs. I was like subconsciously, okay, this has to change here, this needs to be something else, and it developed into that. And then I would songwrite. My mom still has the first song that I wrote, which was called Monsters. And she's like, you got to redo it, mija. Like, do it again. I'm like, okay. But she's like, it doesn't sound the same. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not a sad, like, 13-year-old anymore, Mom. But you got to be able to, get into those feelings when you're playing those minor chords. But after that, I grew up, right? So I moved out. I left home at, like, 16. And then I went into like a really difficult time in my life. I had a really abusive partner, unfortunately. And, we were living like homeless. And that was crazy because it was so disconnected from like what everybody saw from the outside in, you know, but it's different when you're living it and nobody can understand. But I feel like that experience took me to the place I am today. So I went back to San Diego and I just decided like, I'm going to give up on music, like completely. Like I don't, you know, I was in this like abusive relationship, had this guy like telling me you're worthless, you can't do it, you suck. Like everything I would create, he'd put down. And he was physically, emotionally, and mentally abusive, keep in mind. So I'm a survivor of that. Wow. So yeah.
I'm sorry you went through that.
It's tough, you know, to talk about, but I feel like it's been like 6.5 years now that I'm finally on the other side where I'm like, whew, you know, like I can say that, you know, that's not something that anybody should ever go through. Yeah. So,
I was just on that. I you know, I hate that. Like that. I think relationships and the connection you have with people are some of those beautiful things in the world, and it's the things that we rely on the most.
Right.
And I think that when you go through something like that, it's like a betrayal, you know, it's something where you have, you know, leaned on that, put some hope in it, trust in it. And then it pulls the rug out from underneath you. And, I've not been in the same thing. There it goes again. I've not been in the same thing, but, I do know that when I've had moments where I feel like where in a relationship that I had, I suffered the betrayal of that relationship. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. It really is horrible.
You go through the dark night of the soul, you know, and I think I really was deep in it and I didn't have any self-love, you know, because I didn't understand. And now looking back, hindsight, I'm like, okay, this is why, da-da-da-da-da. And I've worked with some amazing people. Shout out SAVE in Fremont, Safe Alternatives for Violent Environments. They helped save me.
That's great. Wow.
When I came back. Wow. So amazing. Fremont, shout out to them.
Yeah.
So that was happening, right? And finally, like, I called my family up, and because there was an incident that happened. I'd gotten away, I'd like done this thing in, you know, San Diego and everything, and I was like, I give up on music completely. So I went and I did healthcare for a little while. And I was like fully involved in like corporate healthcare, you know, staffing nurses and all these things for hospitals that needed them and whatnot. And I was working a lot. Like I was working. And then I had this really good friend. Her name is amazing. I'm not going to say it now because she wants to stay anonymous. But shout out to her because she really saved my life.
Wow.
Woo. So, yeah. But she went through the same thing that I did, you know? And she told me, like, from the outside perspective, what I couldn't see. And she's like, when's the last time, like, I want to talk about music. I want to talk about things that you like and everything. And for the first time ever, I was, like, reminded in a very long time, right? So
wow,
she really helped me out. And you know, we went to the 50-cent tables. I got, you know, shirts and pants from there because I wasn't going back. And I escaped that relationship. But, you know, it came with a price, and unfortunately, it wasn't Cathryn Price, or maybe
great.
It was because I had to find myself again, right?
The new Cathryn Price.
That was the price, exactly. Yeah. So I had to let go of the old Cathryn Price and you know, become who I am today. Which, you know, when music came back into my life, I actually quit the corporate job. They had screwed me over royally, and I was like, you know what? Screw corporate companies. I don't ever want to work for them. And I was like full blown in music. I wouldn't work in a corporate office again because I was typing all day and, you know, I was in pain. So it's no place for a songwriter.
Right.
Like even if you got to bartend and do other things in the meantime, like that's okay. Yeah. You know, just make sure your brain power is not sucked out. Yeah. But yeah, I got the 6-string back in my hand after, you know, leaving an abusive relationship. My friend helped me and my family helped me. And then I kind of was like, you know, building myself back up again, working as a paraeducator for severely handicapped students, K through 12.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I love working with those kids. And then in the nighttime, I'd go to Olive Garden and I'd bartend. So morning, night, and then I would like walk dogs in the meantime. Also do like dog sitting, house sitting, all that to fund like my next venture, which was music. So I started building my studio, slowly getting like new strings for my guitars, built like, I have a table now where instead of working on like a, pop-up table, I actually have like a studio table where I can pull out my MIDI keyboard and all of that. And, I also work at a music retailer, which is great because that helps me stay in, the zone all day. And then I learn about different equipment and I meet different people that I can help and, we connect with and maybe even do shows with, which is really fun. But that's pretty much, what's led me up to this point today where I'm in school for audio engineering. I'm in major studios recording. I'm getting, better and better at my guitar every day. It's going to be a lifetime thing. I will always be a student of guitar. But yeah, just making that like really coming home to myself. And like music's been there for me since I was a baby. And what am I doing to give back to that? So
that's great. I love it. There's so many things that came into my mind as you were talking there, but I'm so glad you got to share that. I think one of the things, I'm not a songwriter. I mean, I've tried to write songs occasionally, and I've come up with maybe small little phrases that sounded good, but that was about it.
It's a start.
It's a start, yeah. But I think the thing that really catches my attention when it comes to songwriters are the various and the many different experiences that they go through, that somehow the filter that is in their mind and in who they are just kind of filters out like the gold in some sense of those experiences, and then somehow that is like refined and formed into a song that's able to be shared. And like, I mean, I'm listening to all the experiences that you went through, and honestly, the abuse is just horrible, and I hate that. But there's so many things that even a negative experience, it's kind of like having that black velvet background on, putting a diamond on the black velvet background. Like it causes the beautiful things, the peaceful moments, the moments of just walking dogs. It causes it to shine and make it something more beautiful because you remember the kind of misery that you were in when you went through what you were going through, Right. And I do think that what you're doing, I love it, because I think what you're doing is you're creating a place and a space for people to have the opportunity to have a future like that. I mean, you could look at it very simply and very two-dimensionally and just say, it's a place to perform and and to create music, but in another sense, you're creating a place to beautifully and multidimensionally tell stories and share stories, and I think that that's the kind of thing that that really resonates with people, because I mean, even like what you were saying about the movie that you watched and Walk the Line, and how that influenced you.
Huge.
I don't know anything about the people that produced that movie. I don't know what they had in mind, what their intention, what their hopes and dreams were. But something that they created influenced you in a way that, I mean, it's changed your life.
Maybe I should tell them that. I've never even thought about that, that's a big deal.
But you're creating something too where somebody, 20, 30 years from now is going to look back and say, I was going through this and this and this, and then I found Cathryn Price and I found her studio, and she gave me, she helped me believe in myself, what I could do, what I could accomplish. She helped me dream about something, bigger than myself, and they're going to look back at that as a life-changing moment.
I think that's my blessing and curse, is that I can see the potential of somebody, but there's also a dark side to that, is that I'm molding you based off of what my perception is.
Right.
And so I think it's just important to allow people a space to be vulnerable and show themselves who they are, because people will show themselves eventually.
Right.
It's just a matter if they feel safe enough to do
Right.
so, because you have ego,
Yeah.
and you also have like business deals that you're dealing with, and then you also have to like competition and
Yeah.
like that is not my level.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think like that. I'm like, I'm here on earth one time, one ticket, don't get a return, and it's a one-way flight. And I would like to make it a really nice, smooth ride. And it might be a little turbulent at some times, but we're smooth sailing. And I think the reason for that is because I don't really have expectations, and I set goals, and I compare myself to myself. And as long as I continue walking forward one step, one day at a time, I'll be okay. And that's the same message I want to send to everybody that's in my orbit. We're all our own planets, our own stars, and we will come together in a line. It's not about who's better than the other person.
Right.
And if you truly are, then it will show, you'll shine.
Yeah.
But I think that we shine brighter together.
Yeah.
And that's my mentality, because I come from sports, and I think that's like where that comes from.
Sure.
And being like the captain of my teams, and just seeing like, all right, let's do this. Like I've always done that, and I want to win.
Yeah,
I really want to win.
That's great.
So
I love it. Well, it's interesting too. I was just I don't need to give an explanation why, but weirdly enough, I don't know if you've seen it. I was just watching the movie Jobs. Have you seen that? It's about
Ashton Kutcher?
It's about Steve, Ashton Kutcher, about Steve Jobs. And I had watched it when it first came out, and I was watching it again recently. And there was a scene where they're like Apple's about to go public, and Ashton Kutcher's sitting at one end of the boardroom table, and he's drinking a beer, and I can't remember who the other character is. Played by Josh Gad, but he comes in, and they were co-founders of Apple. And they have this conversation that basically Josh Gad, his character is basically, he says, the reason I started this company or did what I did is because you're the coolest person I know. What I did, I felt like I was basically a geek, or I was very weird, or disconnected from the rest of the world. But you basically made me look cool. You gave me an opportunity to do what I love in a space that I could basically get paid for doing what I love to do. Because what was happening was Steve Jobs was changing to just like wanted to dominate, and everything had to be his way. It had to be like and in the movie it displays his life being as one going from just appreciating beauty and the outdoors and the the sky and the fields and the mountains and the trees, to now there's this guy who's just like honed in on like conquering everything or being the best at this. And I feel like anyway, I was just hearing you talk about it, and I was feeling that tension as well, kind of between the two of them. Like there's a sense in which, like, for instance, I wish I knew the guy's real name, but the guy who's Josh Gad is playing, he wanted to win too, but he wanted to do it because it was fun, it was good, it was something that like resonated with just something that he loved. Whereas Ashton Kutcher was willing to sacrifice friendship, sacrifice people's dignity, because he just wanted to accomplish what he was after. And so I feel like, and this goes back to what we were talking about with the studio, I feel like when you give people a safe space where they can exercise their muscles of creativity and be able to pursue things that are welling up inside of them, allowing them to to figure out what that is and to put it out into music. I think it's a great thing. But on the flip side, I feel like sometimes we just sit in that puddle and we're just like, I don't know how to get beyond where I am right now. And you kind of need a sense of like, I want to win sort of spirit. Like it's like I want to be creative, but I don't want to get stuck. I don't want to get bogged down. And there's just kind of like that tension in between the two that's really important.
Yeah, you can get in your own way, especially if you're overthinking it all the time, And I think that I bet that Steve Jobs at the end of his life wasn't even thinking like he gave back so much, because I feel like he realized that that was the wrong way to go about it.
Right.
And there's people like that in the music industry where they will just cut throat. They'll steal from you. They'll take advantage of the knowledge that you don't have. Like maybe talk about royalties and like tell you that there's, oh yeah, you'll get 50 on publishing, but you don't know anything about the songwriting split, or vice versa. You don't own the masters. And there's so many hidden doors. Like I want to just open all of those for artists that may not know. And that's come from me having negative experiences where I'm like, I don't want anybody to go through this again, or anybody that works around me or with me has an experience like this. And it's funny because, I always laugh at like artists that I work with that are like skeptical of me because I'm like, I love your healthy level of distrust is beautiful right now because we're both kind of like on guard, but eventually it becomes a friendship and then a business relationship. But if not, then it's just a business relationship, and very early whether or not that's somebody you're going to be working with long term or not. And I think it's just about being transparent in the best possible way to empower people to do it on their own. And I think that that's why I'm going about it a different ways, because I was shown community within the music industry, and I know how it feels to be like, I can't trust anybody here. Like, where's the right information? You go on YouTube, you go down the rabbit hole, then you're buying $500, $6,000 worth of courses that aren't going to help you. So it's like one-stop shop. That's what I want to have, where you have like your understanding, artist development, there's recording, there's lessons, you can do it all. There's a pathway to it. And the best thing about today is there's no gatekeepers. Anybody telling you there is lying to you. It's business, so if you build a brand, you build it up, and that, there's steps to it, but depending on what your goals are, it's very real, very realistic. And the people that treat you like cutthroat and all that stuff, they literally do that because they don't know. Right. And there are people up there. I'm not going to say like, there's not bad deals and people like that in major labels and big industry corporations. I haven't met them and I never want to. So if you want to do a deal with me, it's because we're both going to win, and we're, I don't mind like if your services and everything are laid out, the contract looks good. But, I'm at a point now where I'm just like, I've put so much time and energy and effort. And like you said at the beginning, like, people don't see the behind the scenes that goes into it. And that's the thing. So creating that one-stop shop and making sure it's done authentically, organically, you're connecting with people, and the relationships you build are really big too, because you never know where you might meet somebody down the line. My mom taught me that too. It's like your reputation will follow you. So, and always leave a place cleaner than you came.
That's right. So. That's right. My mom told me that too. That's right.
Love my mama.
That's great.
So
that's great. So I want to hear a couple more things. I need to go upstairs and make sure I settle up with them before they close. But so is there any more details about your special space in Niles that we get to hear, or is this something that we have to wait for?
Yes. This is going to be something that will be rolled out hopefully before the summer series that I'm going to be performing at this year. So there'll be more announcement in the coming
months. The summer series in Niles here?
Yes. July 12th, I will be opening up for one of my dear friends. Okay. And I hope to do more of that. Honestly, I said next year, I was like, I'm going to headline, because I've done 2 years now of opening. It's about time a Niles girl headlines.
That's right.
So I got to get everything in order. Good. And I'm confident that this year is going to just bring all of that. So more to come. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one other question before I go up there and take care of that. But so my other question for you is, what's the favorite song that you've written? Do you have a favorite song that you've written, and why?
My favorite song that I've written, I would say my favorite song that I've written recently is Shades of Jade, because it was like such an authentic experience. And then boom, I wrote the song like the next day. And I found some really cool chords that I took to my producer, and
that was awesome.
he put a reverb plate on it, and it just like,
that is amazing.
That
would be my favorite too,
I would say my all-time
I haven't heard your other stuff, but I love
song
that.
Rebel.
That's great. Okay. That's
because I started writing that song and it ended up being like a family venture because it was Christmas. The fire was on. Awesome. My whole family was in the living room.
Thank you for sharing
and
that. I don't know.
I started writing this song, and I was like,
okay,
running like a rebel.
Yeah.
I'm out here on the road.
That's right. That's right. You want to hear something that no one's ever heard
and
before?
Then I was
we got it right here. So that's great. Well, it's a bootleg. Not bootleg.
Fighting off the devil. Fighting off the devil. Like I started doing all these crazy ideas and everything.
Yeah.
And
Cathryn,
then I finally just
got
my guitar out,
has been
put it
a
on
huge
paper.
treat for me.
My brother-in-law shouting things, my sister shouting things. We got a whole song. We got chaos going on,
and
we came up with a whole tune. And after that, I revised it, and it's literally the number one like most requested song anywhere I go, and it's not even recorded yet. So that's the next stop is to record it.
How long ago did you write that?
Probably about 2 years.
Wow,
there
you go.
2 or 3 years now. Yeah.
That is a special thing, though. You know, I shoot photography. I love doing video and photography where I can, and I have so many photos that I love that nobody's ever seen.
Yeah, see, what is wrong with us?
I feel like I can't, like, Instagram is not going to do it justice. Like, it's like, and I understand that there's like a diminishment that happens through like a platform like Instagram, because it's like, if you love something so much and you get 53 likes, you're like, you don't understand. Like, this is my baby. Like, why did I sacrifice it to the world?
Oh, but 53 people put in a room. That's right. You'd be surprised.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly. So there's kind of like a feel to, like, I don't want to share it. Like, I want to enjoy it, and without like taking away from like the origin and the body of it. I want it to be there. Now, with that being said, you can't get too like selfish about it.
Well, it's hard to feel like, because you feel unappreciated.
Right.
You're like, 53 likes, dude. This should be like 3 million.
Right, that's exactly right.
But,
why did this not go viral?
Right,
yeah.
But just because like those 53 people, I guarantee you, I've done this before where I'm like, oh, I got like 10 likes, and I like take the post down. They're like, dude, what happened to the post?
People were
So I would say like think bigger. You know, what if those pictures, you could even publish them yourself, and have like your own line of books where your photos are inspiring people.
I love that.
Like, that's the thing. We all have this within us, and it's not to put all your power in one platform that might be gone tomorrow. Yeah,
I was reminded recently of, and I'm going to butcher it. I'm not even going to say it correctly. So if you're listening to this, you can just look it up. But C.S. Lewis, who wrote Chronicles of Narnia and all that. He said something about like something is not fully enjoyed unless it's shared.
Yes.
And so there's something about like you can experience a moment, like I can experience something, but until I share it with someone, like my joy is not actually like fully complete.
Yes.
And so there is something about that idea of like, you get the 53 likes and whatever, but then it's like, but I
put it out there.
But by putting it out there and creating a platform that you're proud of to put it on, like a book, like creating books or something like that, and people like really, really can appreciate it to the extent that they can in that through that medium. It's so much. It means so much more.
Yeah, and you never know who sees it.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Like Tyler the Creator was going on Instagram and like looking up these artists that didn't have any follows and like working with them.
That's awesome.
The power. Yeah. The 1 degree of separation also, like, and also the power of our social media. Like we have an ability to contact people. Back in the day, it was like
nothing.
Cher was visiting Clive Davis's hospital. Was it Cher? I think it might have been. And she was like, you're signing me, you get out of this hospital. I'm on your label, and like you'd have to go and have that in-person thing. But now it's like, I'll just shoot you an email, and if it matches and we're on the same page, then cool. Like, so that's what I go back to saying, like, just live authentically. I do not want to work with people like, it's okay to not know who you are yet, but don't fake like, don't fake that vulnerability with like a puffed up ego.
Yeah.
Like, just be yourself and be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And that's for me to take too, because sometimes I'll walk in a room like, I know everything. And I'm like, no, I don't. You know, slowly like sinking down. But I think that's why I started studying audio engineering too, is because I'd walk in the studios. Right. I'm like, just like an artist, like, I want this to sound like this. And they're like, looking at me.
You're like, you don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now I'm like, all right, let's pan that to the left. Let's do that. Like EQ. What plugins are we using? And then they're like, okay.
That's great.
You know, and I'll get behind the computer, start messing with my DAW, or even better, I'll send my own files from my house, and we're working remotely all around the world. Like, the next stop is tour. Like, that's my next thing, is I want to take it, you know, global. That's what I'm going to do.
That's awesome.
So.
I love it. Well, let me go take care of this. And while I'm doing that,
sure.
Maybe the last thing we could do is get you to play a song for us.
Okay, I'll tune it while you're doing that. I told my mama I think I could fly. She told me that I could touch the sky. I told my daddy I think that I should try. He said you gotta live before you die. Running like a rebel, I'm out here on the road, fighting off the devil with some solid rock and roll. Took a stop in Tennessee, picked up blue suede shoes for me. Then I walked that line feeling like a BB queen. And for some gasoline, and I met a man called Dash Pit. He said your bumper's bent and your tire's flat, you should probably fix that shit. Hey you, I said, what else you gotta say? Worry about your own 3 feet of space and keep your boots laced. Running like a rebel, I'm out here on the road, fighting off the devil with some solid rock and roll. Took a stop in Tennessee, picked up blue suede shoes for me. Then I walked that line feeling like a BB queen under the world, yeah. Ooh, I told my mama I think I could fly. She told me that I could touch the sky. I told my daddy I think that I should try. He said you gotta live before you die. Running like a rebel, I'm out here on the road, fighting off the devil with some solid rock and roll. Took a stop in Tennessee, picked up blue suede shoes for me. Then I walked that line, feeling like a BB queen. And
yeah. That was awesome. Yes. I love it.
Thank you.
That is amazing. I love that. That would be my favorite too.
Yeah.
I haven't heard your other stuff, but I love that. That's great.
That's that's a good one. And Walk the Line too. Yeah. I don't know if you heard that, but that was a tribute to that song or that movie.
Okay. That's awesome. Wow. Thank you for sharing that with. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm the first one to record it, but I.
Yeah, you might be.
Yeah.
Have it on the podcast. That's how you listen to it.
That's right. You want to hear something that no one's ever heard before? We got it. We got it right here.
That is the first official recording there.
That's great. Well, it's a bootleg.
It's a live copy. There you go.
Live copy. There you go.
Limited edition.
Cathryn, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
A huge treat for me. I love it. I've been trying to track you down for a while, and that's not been your fault or anybody's. Just life's busy. So
right.
But it's a privilege having you on the podcast. So thank you for joining me.
I'm honored to be here. And absolutely, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to more.
Awesome.
So
that sounds great.